Founders have 10 or maybe 20 investors. You have 14,000. How does that even happen? And what does it feel like to have that many people betting for you?
They complain, then they come back and they're all enthused, and you have to maintain an even stream through it all. And you have to say, this is the plan.
14,000 investors. It's not a cap table. That's a community. That's a movement.
I swore after my last foray that I wouldn't do a startup, but got pitched on this idea and it was just so compelling. I couldn't stop myself.
I work with tech founders all the time. They are very good at product, they are very good at technology, but when it comes to raising funding, when it comes to seeing that how to make it a business, they don't have much idea, right? But you are coming from the different side of the world.
Nobody cares about your technology. They care about what solution it can bring to the table, whether or not you're getting there with chipmunks on a wheel or some kind of ultra exotic, fancy new coating. They don't care.
Big dreams don't come quietly.
They demand risk.
They demand fire. They demand transformation. Welcome to The Corporate Life, Billion-Dollar Conversations. Hosted by Hina Siddiqui, CEO and founder of Corporate Influence Media, creator of Capital Stage Credibility Positioning, 4-time Global Award winner, featured across more than 700 global outlets, and heard in 94 countries. Join us as we sit with tech CEOs, multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs, and leading investors, the people building what's next. Here, success isn't a headline. It's a human story. The turning points, reinventions, failures, breakthroughs, and bold decisions that change everything. Because every life is a movie, and you're the star of yours.
Charles, most founders have 10 or maybe 20 investors. You have 14,000. How does that even happen? And what does it feel like to have that many people betting for you?
Right. It's exciting. You have a very different way that you approach the world and the way you communicate and everything. Because when you're dealing with that many investors, you can't sort of just have a one-on-one conversation with one and they dig in and ask questions and you respond and so forth. You have to think about mass communication.
And in fact, you need to give them a talk.
Yeah. And what gets your point across to not just somebody who's an expert in something, but to everyone. And I think it's a good discipline because it makes you what they always say when you're trying to build some communication with investors is don't try to overdo it. Don't come back and say, here's a lot of complicated stuff. You say instead, this is what it comes down to. Here's the thing you need to understand. And it's not complicated when you really boil it all down. It never is. It shouldn't be anyway. And if you think it is, you're wrong. You have to come up with something that's clear and concise and makes sense to people, to anybody. They always say, like, come up with something that a 10-year-old would understand. And I don't mean to insult my investors. I'm just saying everybody, if I can't communicate in a simple way, then it's my problem, not theirs.
Yeah. So it's like, to me, it occurred like to me that it's 14,000 investors. It's not a cap table. That's a community. That's a movement.
That's a community. That's right. That's exactly what happens. I mean, they go hot, they go cold, they think, they complain, then they come back and they're all enthused and, and all this stuff. And it's like, and you deal with it all. Like sometimes, everybody's all excited and amped up. And sometimes everybody's like, oh, the end of the world. You have to maintain an even stream through it all. And you have to say, this is the plan and we're executing on the plan. And part of the thing is when you're talking retail investors, they don't necessarily get it that some things take time to develop and germinate and grow and get bigger. And then you actually have something. You've got your tree. And if you think, everything's going to happen in a moment, it's not. It just can't. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the difference between really, at its core, I think, between an institutional investor who has an understanding and patience that it takes time to build a company from scratch, especially, and to build a product and to get it sold and all that other stuff, as opposed to retail, which is really kind of what have you done for me lately kind of stuff. And I mean, it's not a criticism. It is because they haven't experienced it.
Yeah, yeah.
The ones that actually have been in the trenches, and there's a few of those, started companies, run them, found out the what the deal is. Not so easy, a lot harder than it looks. And
Mm.
they're the ones who come back and caution the others in the community, as you said, to say, they're on track. They're doing what they said they would do. And this is good. This is not bad.
This is good that there's so many people betting on you. Like you are able to manage relationships with those many people, and these people trust in you. That's why they invested in you. And obviously, I mean, you have that support, you have that accountability to all those people that you have to make it work. So, yeah, this is very interesting and challenging, but it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, it is. It's you. You're right. I mean, there's a lot of folks counting on me and counting on the whole team here, and I do my best to be as open and tell them as much as I can. I mean, you can't tell them everything, right? They're just things that wouldn't be good for the company.
Hmm.
But I try to be as open and honest and tell them everything possible, because the last thing you can do is do something that hurts your ability to maintain trust. If
Yes.
people don't think, if you say something's going to happen and then it doesn't, well, boom, you only get you don't get too many shots like that. So you have
Hmm.
to be very careful about what you say. You have to think about what's reasonable and what's possible, and you don't give people, the you know too much specifics in terms of like exact dates and things like that. You just can't, because even if we do everything right, I don't know if somebody's going to sign a contract with us. I mean, the guy could go on vacation and you could be everything's fine, but then it didn't happen, and then or they changed out the head of this unit, and now it's somebody else, and he says, "Oh, I got to look at all this." You don't know what's going to happen, so you got to be very careful about how you frame things. And the only
Yeah.
things you really control are the things internal to your company, and even then somebody could leave, somebody does this, somebody does that, and, things slip and boom, now you're off. So being careful on dates is really important. It's like,
Hmm.
our AI, the persistent cognitive machine, or PCM. I said we were going to do a demo to the Navy in April, and we did a demo to the Navy in April. Did I say on April 3rd or April 12th? No, I said April. And we did it in April 26th or something. So it happened. And, in the PCM also, we're having an alpha come out. It's the developers say we'll have it ready at the end of August. What do I say to the world? We're going to have it ready in September. Does that mean September 1 or September 30? In that range. Now I can feel confident that it's working, and it is working. And it's just that, you've got to be very cautious about making promises, and both because of, liability, but also just you got to be careful about it. You can't.
Yeah, and it's good, I guess. It's good actually. It's like you have some healthy pressure and you know how to manage, you know how to nurture relationships with these many people. And of course, these people have invested you, they believed you, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of
Correct.
folks that bet on us. I mean,
Yes,
we
yes,
raised about 50 million. Um,
right.
and, it's a considerable sum, and it's about to get up to be a lot more, I think. Uh, because, we're going to shift to primarily institutional, just because the numbers are going to get too big. When you're building an AI and you want to compete with guys with billions of dollars, you can't be doing it with retail investor money.
Yeah, and Charles, you come from the investment banking industry. You have been into insurance, you have been into investment banking, and you were a Navy intelligence officer before. Uh, what made you leave that all and chase something uncertain? Because as we talked about it earlier, uh, before I hit the record button, it was like entrepreneurship is a rough journey. It's a very uncertain journey. You don't know where you are heading to, right? You have a vision, but then the road is quite rocky. So why that? What pushed you in that direction?
I mean, I think I honestly, I don't want to sound, arrogant here, but I have intellectual curiosity and I get excited about, especially technology. I mean, I was involved in biotech. I love to dig into something complicated that can change the world. And it's really a cool thing if you can make something out of nothing. I swore after my last foray that I wouldn't do a a startup, but I mean, I got pitched on this idea and it was just so compelling. I couldn't stop myself, I guess is how I'd have to say
You
it.
couldn't say no.
Yeah, I mean, if you can see something that can really change how, I mean, like we have two products, right? And our first product, the product I'm talking about, was called NerPac. And what it does is it increases the effective bandwidth of data through practically any pipe and, machine generated type stuff, like telemetry and things like that. And if you could do that, think of like, okay, so for every satellite, I can now send 4 times more data. Okay, instead of sending up 3 more satellites, I can just do a software upgrade. I mean, you add that and, all the other communications around the world that send all this data, and the hardware upgrades are gigantically expensive, billions and billions. And you're just doing a software upgrade. I mean, think of the power of that. And so that's the kind of thing that gets me amped up and why I get, excited about these things because, we can have a massive impact on the world here. And
Mm,
I get excited about that. It feels like, I'm moving the needle.
yeah. So what is your product for? Who is it for?
So our two products. So the product I was talking about is NerPac. Again, it's software upgrade, and it it would impact anybody in everything. So just say, a cell phone, your cell phone would be able to communicate 4 times faster. Not this isn't applying to video to, but to all the other kinds of data that move through a phone. Or, you know, we work a lot with the Department of Defense, Department of War now, that is working on ways of moving more data to support tactical operations. How do you if you were to think about, like, there's lots of its circumstances with Starlink, with Viasat, with all these other satellite companies, with, like, one of our partners is Ericsson. They make these devices called gateways, IoT gateways. And what they do is they gather in data from a bunch of sensors and put it all together and send it on to the cloud. Okay, so we can send 4 times more data with, says Ericsson. And if you go to their site, that's what they say. If they add NerPac to their gateway, what's the point of a gateway? It's to send data places. If you can send 4 times more, well, that's a better gateway. So, and that applies to all kinds of stuff, to, oil platforms, to mining operations, to especially things that are remote that have limited communications, bandwidth. That's where, you really, really need this. And we're finding, lots of resonance there. Cars, another big thing. The car makers are all pretty excited about it. We've not all, but we're talking to several that are moving to pilots and
Yeah.
all that. So just about everything nowadays sends a lot of data places.
Yeah. So
Like a
you're
car.
making the data smaller. You're compressing the data.
Yeah, it's not really compression. It's called source coding.
Okay.
Um, we're basically replacing the entire data stream with something
Mm.
much smaller, these little code words. And so the result of all that is, so like, say you have a car. A modern car generates maybe 25 gigabytes an hour, but the capacity of the network is to send about 1% of that. It's a tiny amount compared to what's getting generated. So you don't want to send it all, but you want to send more.
Mm.
And what do you do if you're if you're the car maker? Well, you just say, okay, I'm going to pay a lot more for the cellular, or I'm going to, potentially use NerPac. And also moving the data around in a car. Cars can't use fiber. And so because of that, they need some way that the speed of communications inside the car is much slower than they want it to be. So they upgrade the radar sensor. The radar sensor now, instead of sending 100 megabits a second, wants to send 500. It can't. And so what do? You can upgrade the sensor so it has a lot more compute on it, so it does the computing on the edge. But now you've raised the price of the sensor a lot, and the car makers don't want you to. And so there's this dilemma going on all over the place with constraints for how much bandwidth you get and how you send it places and everything. And so most of the time, on average, of all the machines data that's generated, somewhere between under 1% to maybe 10% typically gets generated, sent somewhere. Most of the time, it just gets thrown out. And so what they do is they do sampling. They'll check something every hour instead of every second. And in the meantime, they may have overheated or something. See what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Charles, you come from investment banking, as I said, and you are in the entrepreneurship, like tech entrepreneurship now. What advantage do you have being in that industry that other founders who don't come from that part of the world miss out?
I think, that's a very good question, because like I was just talking to an ex-investment banker yesterday, in fact. He said the same thing, that it gives you, what's the one core thing that if you're an entrepreneur, is you have to be able to raise money, and you have a lot better sense of how to do that if you're investment banker, and also how to structure it, what's real, what isn't, who's real, who isn't, how the whole system works in general. You got to have a pretty good sense for all that. And not only that, one of the things you do as an investment banker is you evaluate companies and how good they are and how viable, what's their long-term strategy, and does it really work, and what is the profit, and be able to evaluate a balance sheet, an income statement, and really be able to drill down on and understand what you're doing too. I mean, in terms of like, not just taking a report from a CFO and saying thanks and then putting it to the side. You know what you're doing when you look at it.
Yeah.
And so the other big thing I would say is the kind of discipline that you learn on Wall Street. If you're an investment banker, you're a junior banker. You're sitting there preparing all these, like these, the PowerPoints and models and presentations for this and that and write-ups. You have to do all this stuff, and you can't screw up anything ever. I remember sitting in the back. Yeah, I remember sitting in the back with a limo with a partner, and I was the junior guy, and him finding a number that didn't fit in my spreadsheet that I spent all night putting together, and he gets furious and he rips it up, throws it on the floor, and he goes, "We're going to go talk to this client. I don't know what we're going to say because you screwed up." That kind of thing. At present, here I am, like God knows how many years later, still,
Yeah.
remembering that incident very
Yeah,
clearly.
it's very interesting. And I see that as an unfair advantage because when I work with tech founders all the time, they are very good at product, they are very good at technology. But when it comes to raising funding, when it comes to seeing that how to make it a business, how to make it profitable, they don't have much idea, right? So they need to learn that skill. But you are coming from the different side of it, the world, where you know about the business and you were interested in technology, and this is you actually are good at, right? So this is very interesting because you know the business side of it, which is actually important in a business, even if
Yep.
it's a tech business or any business.
Very true. Yeah, no, I agree with you that it's a really, really good thing to be able to
Yeah.
understand the business piece, not just the tech piece. Like
Yeah.
I can't hold my own with a serious tech guy, right? That's not my background, but you know, they in the way it works really, I think, especially in biotech, docs think, this business guys just aren't like, come on, this is just obvious common sense stuff. And that's what they think for a while. And so you realize that there's a lot more to it than it looks like. But
Yeah.
not to say it's anything nearly as difficult to understand as like medicine or
Yeah.
technology. But at the same time, it's not just, okay, just a few common sense rules.
Yeah. And no wonder you have 14,000 investors.
Yeah, right. Yep. No, that'll wake you up. Right.
Yeah.
Get ready for the ultimate challenge, this or that. Choose fast, trust your instincts, and let's go.
Charles, let's have some fun now. Like, I would love to play this game with you called This or That. I love to play this game with every guest on the show. It's
Okay.
like I'll give you two options. You just need to pick one. It's a rapid fire. So, without thinking, you just need to pick one option. So, are you ready?
Okay. Ready to go.
Insurance or investment banking? Which one prepared you more?
Investment banking.
14,000 investors or one lead VC? Which would you choose again?
14,000 investors.
Starting by necessity or starting by choice?
Starting by necessity.
Finance insider or tech outsider?
Tech outsider.
The investor who writes the biggest check or the one who believes the hardest?
Biggest check.
Spiritual journey or business strategy? Which one actually drives you?
The journey.
San Francisco or anywhere else?
San Francisco.
The company you built or the community you built around it?
The company.
Tell investors everything or protect the story?
Tell them everything.
The hardest day of building or the day the first investor said yes?
Sorry, sir. First part.
The hardest day of the building or the day the first investor said yes?
The day the first investor said yes.
Well played. Thank you. It was spontaneous. It was quick. Well played.
Thank you.
Charles, we believe that every life is a movie and you are the star of yours and your life is definitely a movie. So what is the title of that?
It's not a straight line.
Why would you say that? Just a few lines on that.
Because if it is a straight line, it's kind of boring. And I like exciting. I like new things. I like to try to accomplish something that nobody's tried before. And you don't do that by going in a straight line.
Yeah, that's true. Life, if it's not a straight line, it's fun. It's adventurous. And
It's adventure,
it's always like put you in that thrill, excitement mode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what made you be a podcaster, right?
Yeah.
So it isn't like, okay, I applied to be a nope, that didn't happen.
For those who would like to follow the rest of your movie, how can they do that?
Well, I'm a bit of an open book. Having 14,000 investors means that I communicate a lot. And so we, like right now we're raising on funds on Start Engine, which is a crowdfunding site. And I post there multiple times a week. People can ask a question and I respond. And it really, I mean, the amount I communicate compared to a typical CEO with a couple of VCs on their board is no comparison. I mean, I crank out, investor communications every week. And usually 2 or 3 times a week. And so I make it, it is very easy to know what we're doing, what we're planning to do. No, we aren't going to we can't put in projections and things like that. But what the plan is, I can absolutely talk about it. And so I do, and it builds trust. And I think generally speaking, people trust that we may not be able to do every single thing that we are trying to do, but we certainly will let you know what the plan is and how we're doing on getting it done and the implications. And I get excited about technology, and so I write a lot about it because there's so many implications for our technology that are really cool, especially nowadays the AI that's coming out that will be released as an alpha in a matter of weeks. And so we we're excited about it. And so I write a lot about it. People, I think, have at least, well, I don't get into the technical underpinnings. I do talk about what it could do, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's so everybody who reads through my stuff is going to know exactly what we're doing and what we're doing it, how we're doing it, what the plan is to get to, and all that.
Yeah. And before I let you go, I would like to ask you this question. A lot of people who are raising funding right now, what advice or what tips would you like to give to them so it's easier for them? Because that is a little bit a challenge for a lot of people, for a lot of founders who have brilliant ideas, but they struggle with getting, connected with an investor or explaining that to their product or the business idea to them. What is your best advice for them?
I think that you have to go back and sit down and think not just about the technology, but what kind of business you're building and how it will bring value. Because I think the number one thing I see entrepreneurs doing wrong when they're pitching is they come in and talk about technology. Nobody cares about your technology. They care about what solution it can bring to the table and what the value of that is. And that whether or not you're getting there with, chipmunks on a wheel or some kind of ultra exotic, fancy new coating, they don't care. And I've fallen in this trap many times myself. You have to sit down and look at your deck and look at your writings and so forth and say, what does it mean? How is it valuable? What's the solution? And not how does it work?
Yeah, that's a perfect advice. I totally 100% believe in that too. It's like you need to first figure out like how you would like to make it a business, and business always creates value, and for how many people you can create value. So investors always care about like how can you scale it up, like, without you. If the business runs, like how many people it can reach to. So if you could make out that plan of scalability and profitability, it's going to definitely hit the right target.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would call it, it isn't universal, but I would say it's definitely a majority of the time. Guys go in there and they talk about their technology and how they do it and how cool it is and how they've got a unique way of doing X, Y, and Z. And none of that has any impact. It's sort of like you're just wasting your chance.
Yeah.
People don't care how you do it. They want to know how this is a business, how it is bringing value, who is going to pay you to do it. And especially the other big thing is to go out and talk to people before you build it so that you can say, if we build this, then Apple or IBM or GM or whatever is going to buy it.
Mm.
And they told us they would. Here's what we found out. If you can get that kind of information combined with here's the value prop that it provides.
Yeah.
The tech is how the tech works is a footnote.
Yeah. Completely. Right. Thank you, Charles, for your time today. It was a wonderful conversation. It was
Same
fun
here.
connecting with you.
Thank-
And thank you again for coming on the show.
My pleasure. And thanks very much for having me.
This is The Corporate Life. More stories, more insight, more truth. Until the next episode, stay curious. Don't forget to subscribe.